We got Coach on. How did the Badgers do week one addressing their biggest needs in the offseason? Defensive front seven, offensive realignment. What Coach think? Let's get into it.
You are Locked On Badgers, your daily podcast on the Wisconsin Badgers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's going on, Badger fans? Welcome to Locked On Badgers, your team every single day. Thank you for being a part of this, being an everydayer and being part of this community. I'm your host, Ryan Harings. Today's episode, we are talking Coach's Corner. The Dairy Raid is on the show. I was always excited for that. Thoughts on the new front seven, the new offensive look, Danny O'Neil, plus some thoughts on maybe some coaching decisions that I'm definitely curious to see where Coach is at. Today's episode is brought to you by Mazda. Just like there's more to every player, more dedication, more attention to detail. There's more to the Mazda vehicle. Stay tuned later in the episode for highlights in this week's Moving the Game Forward. Mazda, move and be moved. Let's get Coach Anderson on the show, man. Always awesome to get Coach's cornerback. We did this last year, but the offseason is long. And
it is.
It's hard to do a Coach's Corner when there's no games being played. I want to start here, man. I know you broke down the film, especially the defensive film. I saw that come up on your channel. I was starting to go through it as well. One of the biggest goals this offseason was rebuild the front seven, be tougher, have more depth, be more disruptive. Early thoughts, week one, defense.
I think they're on the right track. For sure, I can see already growth in fundamentals. I think just the play of the defensive line, defensive tackles, the play of the linebackers is showing improvement. Now, I'll fall into the same trap as everyone saying it is only in Miami, Ohio, but you can see fundamental growth. And you can also see that they just have better pieces that fit what they want to do defensively. The defensive line understand the assignment. They understand their role in the defense. And I think that has been a problem we've had the last couple of years of especially defensive linemen who maybe freelanced a little bit because – well, it's highlighting what I do good. You know, look at some exit interviews of people who are no longer in the program. That's exactly what you heard. But you look at Javier Suggs, you look at Ben Barton, Parker Peterson, Charles Perkins. They understood the assignment. Their job was to occupy blockers, to control gaps, and then once they've done that, go find the football. And that was huge. And everything behind it played off of that. The edges were there. And the inside linebackers were then allowed to flow sideline to sideline. And I know it's one game against a MAC team, but we weren't saying these things week one last year when it was a MAC team. And we weren't saying this 2 years ago when it was week one, a MAC team. I think there's a big difference.
Yeah, you hit it right on what I was going to say is this last year's team, last year's defense wouldn't have done this to this MAC team and Finn. They wouldn't have. They didn't have the depth or the athleticism. And I also want to point out, like, it is a MAC team. Not many schools hold any Division I program to 117 yards. I think there's just certain things that you can look at and say not many schools do that regardless of opponent. Let me ask you this, because this question came up, man, in a previous show I did with Rajiv. How much of this is just the pieces are better, and how much of this is Mike Tressel made some adjustments and was more aggressive?
I think it's both. I think, first thing, this looks more like the Mike Tressel defense that he ran at Cincinnati. The fronts look more like what he did there. The use of players is a little more like he did there. And we just have better pieces. It just flat out, the pieces we have in the defense, especially the front seven, fit the defense better. It gives them the versatility that they want, that they haven't had. There's a reason why the last 2 years on, to the eye test, the defense looked the same as it did for the previous 10 years before that. Those are the pieces we had. There wasn't the versatility because they were recruited to run a certain system in a certain style, and that's all we had. And then they weren't quite as good as the previous one because they didn't have the superstars. This defense has some top-level players, but it is just full of role players. And you could see it by how deep they went, especially in the D-line and the edge rotation. That's going to be huge down the road, getting later into the season where that depth is going to become important.
Who are you comfortable saying is a top-level player right now?
I mean, I could give the simple answer and say Mason Reiger. He does the flash plays, the pass rush, all that kind of stuff. But he is really fundamentally sound as an edge player, as an outside linebacker. He did a fantastic job of squeezing, filling, forcing handoffs on zone read, and then going and make a tackle. That is something we have not had. I mean, I think we can look at Darrell Peterson last year. Did that quite a lot where he could do one or the other. He couldn't do both. And you saw against Miami, they let him do what he was good at. He would when they would put him at the edge, where they put him at that interior D-line spot to just go attack, because he had Mason Reiger next to him, who was going to fill and control after that. Outside of that, I'm impressed by the D tackles. I think Brandon Lane is gonna be a good one. Unfortunately, it's a year late, maybe, so we're not going to quite get as much use out of him as we kind of hoped going into last year. But he is a big body who knows how to use leverage and can control blocks. Javier Suggs is an all-around defensive tackle. We thought he was mostly going to be a pass rusher type, but he was another guy I was really impressed with his fundamentals as a defensive tackle. I haven't felt this happy about a defensive performance in a long time, so I'm trying not to get overexcited. But they did the simple things right. They did the simple things well, and it all snowballed into a good performance overall.
I love that. And even that quote there, they did the simple things well. I was at a coaching clinic one time, and what you said just triggered it in my head. A coach said, once your team starts doing the simple things well, they can occasionally start doing the hard things decently. Right. So you set the foundation and then you can start to expand upon it. Is there a player you mentioned? I love that you mentioned Brandon Lane. Is there another player that maybe doesn't get talked about a lot that you went back and you rewatched the film that you stood out to you and said, man, I really kind of like what he looked like too?
I liked the backside corners from Rico. Deani Hill impressed me with his understanding of his role in the run game and getting off of his pass responsibility and getting in the run fit. I thought he made a couple really nice open field tackles. Emilio Agard, he's got some pop for a corner. Yeah. You don't usually say that. And again, it fits what they want to do defensively and how they're changing, their outlook on coverage this year. You need those physical corners who can play in a zone, come downhill, be involved in the run game, be involved in the run fit. And so that was really nice to see that. And that just helped. I mean, you think about the run game. If you get an extra guy who can get into the run fit, you're just going to be that much better.
That's it. I love that answer. His first play of the game, I think it was Deani Hill that came off his pass fit really quick. And he was the one that got into the run fit. And he's really quick to make that decision, right? The anticipation and the awareness. And you know this. Cornerbacks don't always have the heart to put their body in there. Those dudes definitely.
If they could tackle, they play nickel, they play safety. That's usually what we kind of say is, all right, you're going to go out on your island, keep that guy from catching passes, we'll take care of the rest. Anything beyond that is a plus. And I thought they played a plus based on what they were asked to do against Miami.
Great stuff. We're going to take a pause here, come back. We're going to talk to Coach about the offense. What did he think? Initial impressions. Obviously, Billy Edwards got hurt, but initial impressions of the Grimes offense week 1 for the Badgers. That's coming up next on Locked On Badgers with Coach Anderson, the Dairy Raid. But first, a quick second for our friends of the show over at Upside. Guys, we got to talk about this. Are you still paying full price for gas? Is that still something that you're doing in 2025 when you could be spending that money on a lot of other things? There's a lot of great things in this world we can spend money on. 3D printers. You can make yourself all sorts of, Camp Randall stuff out of plastic and go sell it on eBay. You could do that, or you could just waste money at the gas pump. Right now, download the Upside app in the App Store, Google Play Store, and you're going to start earning cash at the pump today. Use my limited time promo code football and get an extra 25 cents back per gallon on your first fill up. You could make up to $300 a year just from buying gas that you already need. At first, I thought it was maybe too good to be true, but it's legit. I have the app and I get paid for doing the things I would be doing anyway. And you can too. Plus, you can cash out anytime to your bank account, PayPal, e-gift card, Amazon. Don't let this offer drive by. Download the free Upside app Now, using my limited time promo code football for a limited time 25% or 25 cent per gallon bonus. That's promo code football. Offers may vary by user and location. Go to upside.com for terms and conditions. Today's episode also brought to you by our incredible new friends over at Mazda. Excited for this one. This is Mazda's moving the game forward. Brought to you by those who believe it's not just about playing the game, it's about redefining it. Because these moments do more than win. They push what's possible. They remind us to get that extra yard. You got to shift into the extra gear and keep that game going forward. Today's moving the game forward players, Preston Zachman, 2 picks in that game, including one that absolutely set the Badgers up on the goal line for a touchdown. He was the guy that kept this thing moving forward, and it was a moment that defines the game and the team. That's what keeps fans and players alike moving forward, always chasing the next great moment. When you follow what moves you, the unexpected is only the beginning. And just like that, just like there's more to every highlight, there's more to every Mazda vehicle. Mazda, move or be moved. All right, let's keep going here. Coach, I want to start here. Your incredible channel, your incredible work. Where can people find the amazing things that you are doing?
Yeah, as always, everything the Dairy Raid from, excuse me, from YouTube, Substack. We're doing a little bit more on Substack this year where I'm going to be doing, I know it's hard to sit through long breakdown videos. The YouTube algorithm is certainly telling me, and everyone's telling me, got to make things shorter, but we're putting up the full game breakdown that did 90 minutes on the defensive half of the ball. Don't have the offense right now, unfortunately, but got that on Substack. Also got a little more manageable on YouTube, Twitter, everywhere's in between. Just search out the Dairy Raid, you'll find me.
Definitely good content, especially for football nerds. If you want to learn the game a little better, get a little deeper, see the rotation, see what Coach Tressel's doing, go check out what Ryan's doing for sure over on the Dairy Raid. Let's shift gears, man. Offense. That was the other kind of big talking point. We're going to shift the offense. Grimes is coming in. Initial impressions, what'd you think?
It was what Badger fans wanted. It was the return to smash mouth football, obligatory fullback dive a couple times. Time of possession went up. All those things that we talked about that we wanted as Badger fans. We also saw a little bit of the downside of those things where we had some long drives. We had multiple 10-plus play drives. But when you take up that much time, if you don't score, you have just wasted. Time of possession means nothing if you don't score. So I think obviously, turnover in the red zone or on the goal line with Danny O'Neill's interception doesn't help. Decision to go for it instead of maybe kicking in a certain situation is another. It's early in the year. We can learn from that. And obviously the game plan got completely thrown out the window when we had a quarterback change mid-game. So we can look at the positive things of establishing the identity, getting the play clock back under control and stuff like that. So those are positive things, but we have to work on the things that can be potential problems with that type of offense. And that means we have to be efficient in scoring. We have to limit turnovers, and you can't come away empty-handed after a long drive.
Well, let's talk about one of those pain points, offensive line. Certainly, Davis Hines and left tackle has been talked about a lot. Left tackle is like cornerback, or if you don't look good, it's really easy to see. It really stands out.
For sure.
I asked this question the other day, and I want to phrase it in such a way because this coaching staff obviously had all of Platteville, all of Madison to figure out what they were going to do with the pieces they had at left tackle. Obviously, they would love Kevin Haywood. He's not there. And they went into the season saying it's Davis Heinzen. That makes me think that Davis Heinzen had a bad game and he's got more in the – there's no way they would put him out there if that's what they thought it would look like, right? Or help me think through this. Why – because I saw him struggle in Platteville too. Why was he the left tackle, and why could he still be the answer going forward?
I think, one, if we take him out of the equation and he's no longer at left tackle, the best way to fill that spot is going to be a mad jumble of the pieces that are remaining. So under the philosophy probably going into it was to cause the least amount of chaos in our O-line room. Let's replace the missing piece with the best piece that we can get at the time. I mean, transfer portal post spring and maybe not having the NIL budget to go after the big name, whatever, who cares? Davis Heinzen was the best they had at the time. The other tackles you had on the roster are young or often injured. So they had to put him in. They want to give him every opportunity to at least be the player he was when he played in the MAC. And I'm guessing they figured this would be an opportunity. I mean, if he struggled in camp, came in late, you can always find excuses, but players play. Get him in game reps, get him in situations where the defense doesn't know exactly what's coming. Maybe he'll improve a little better than he was showing in camp. Obviously, it didn't work. And so now they're going to have to go to plan B, which is going to be the man jumble of the O-line, moving a lot of pieces around. Obviously, I'm sure you've seen the picture that everyone's talking about today of Riley Mahlman apparently lining up at left tackle. The solution could simply be as simple as having them flop sides.
Mm-hmm.
Who knows? I don't think it's going to be that easy. I think it's going to be involving moving 2 or 3 people around to find the right constellation. I think they're going to try a bunch of different looks against Middle Tennessee to see what will stick. But I think this was I don't want to say experiment. They had to test this in a game situation where they knew they can test it, but the risk isn't as high. Now that they've seen it, it did not work how they wanted to. Now they have to start thinking ahead because in 2 weeks they're playing Alabama and they have to have an O-line who is solid. So I think we're going to see the big change this week. Again, it's most likely going to be just moving the 5 pieces who are there now around more than, okay, we're going to replace these two or three guys, 2 guys in particular, with new bodies and see how it works.
Let me ask you this question. That was a great answer, by the way. I really agree after hearing you say that a lot of what you said there. If you, from a fan's perspective, I tend to think, and you tell me if I'm wrong from your perspective, I tend to think needing your best tackle at left tackle or the quarterback's blind side, obviously Danny's a right-handed guy, is important. But I don't know if it's as important as it used to be with the way defensive coordinators move their pieces around a lot more. Is that worth
for sure
moving Riley Mahlman, who's never repped at left tackle? I guess that's my biggest question. And I think in an ideal world, we agree. But is that worth shuffling everything around?
It depends on what your philosophy is in with pass protection and how you set up the run game. It also depends on how teams play defensively around you. You're seeing a big trend in the NFL where you're getting stud pass blocking right tackles. It used to be the right tackle used to be the refrigerator who you oversized guard basically. And then defenses got smart and started putting edge rushers out there and started flipping guys around. More left-handed quarterbacks than we used to have, et cetera. It's just going to come down to what constellation of these linemen gives them the best overall output. And it might be, moving Riley Mahlman to left tackle and then putting someone else at right tackle where someone just footwork-wise is more comfortable is better than bringing in somebody new at left tackle and leaving Riley Mahlman on the other side. The average is lower. And I could easily see them just taking Davis Heinzen, Riley Mahlman, and Emerson Mandel and switch their 3 spots. You put Riley Mahlman at left tackle, you put David Heinzen at right guard, and you put Emerson Mandel at right tackle. As we've heard that could maybe Mandel could eventually be a right tackle type of situation, or JP Penchwall at right tackle and Heinzen at right guard, or Heinzen comes out. There are different looks. So you just got to find that constellation that brings your overall average up.
What'd you think of, really quick, not to take this whole segment for offensive line, but we talked a ton about left tackle. What'd you think about the rest of the pieces, maybe the interior line? What'd that look like to you?
I mean, I think obviously Brunner and Renfro, they look solid in this system. I think they're going to fit well. Mandel struggled at times. I think we have to remember that he is literally learning how to pass block, and he's literally learning how to do some of these things that we take for granted as what offensive linemen should do in modern football. He comes from an old, very old school offense in high school. He'll pick it up. I mean, he is picking it up. There's a reason why he's a redshirt freshman and he's starting.
Yeah.
He's picking it up. It's the nuances that he needs to get better at that is going to take some time. I think they're giving him a little bit of a trial by fire this year in hopes that he's going to be a 3-year start, 4-year starter at right guard. But he looked okay. Malman is Malman. He has improved every year since he's been here. He was one of the guys I criticized the most in 2023. I thought he looked slow, unathletic, and he has steadily improved. And, you know, he's kind of where he's moving towards where Jack Nelson we had hoped he would have been last year. And he's moving in that direction. So the solid pieces are there. The combination of skill and veteran leadership. It's just we've got to plug the one big hole and then make sure that the young guy is progressing the way that he should.
Exactly where you want to be in week 2 of the football season, trying to plug holes on the offensive line. We'll take a quick second here, come back with Coach, talk about Daniel O'Neil. I'm really curious to see his thoughts on Daniel O'Neil, plus a couple coaching decisions I want to ping him on. That's coming up next on Locked On Badgers. First, a quick second for our new friends of the show over at DoorDash. This is always exciting. Absolutely love DoorDash. Right now, it's almost a weekend. It's time to look back and crown this week's MVP on who delivered, powered by DoorDash. Just like you can win every Saturday with DoorDash Streaks, saving more every time you order. This player delivered when it matters most. Let's break it down. And again, I've talked about it for the Wisconsin Badgers. Preston Zachman delivered in a massive way. That interception to set up the Badgers going up 17-0 off pressure. They got some pressure on Finn. Zachman stepped in, almost housed it, but essentially set up the 7-point touchdown that the Badgers cashed in that put the game away. He's a stud. No hesitation, no delay. His performance was not a fluke. And just like Zachman delivered for the Badgers, DoorDash delivers your Saturdays. With DoorDash Streaks, you save every Saturday you order. Stack it up all season, and you can save up to $250, including $100 in DoorDash credits. Order this Saturday. Keep the streak alive. Find your game day. Only with DoorDash. Terms to apply. Promo period through 11/18. All right, Coach. Daniel O'Neil. Obviously going to be our quarterback at least this week, and I think probably – I don't know. To me, it feels like this might be QB1 through the Maryland game into the bye week. Thoughts on Daniel O'Neil? How'd he look to you?
I think he looked all right. It's difficult. You never plan for your backup quarterback, especially when your backup quarterback has different skill set than your starter. You have him in the back of your head. Obviously, in college football, you recruit players to play your system, but everyone has their different place in the system. So on the fly, I think he showed obviously the athleticism, the grit, the moxie, all those buzzwords that you love to see from a quarterback. He's kind of got that scrambling gunslinger type to him where maybe you'd see a guy like Baker Mayfield scramble around and then fire a pass downfield. He's going to scramble around and just take off. I'd like to see him protect his body a little bit better because as Wisconsin fans, I mean, we're all holding our breath anytime he does anything but a 3-step drop and throws the football because we can't have another quarterback injury. But he's got to play his game. And, you know, he's talked about he's got a chip on his shoulder. And I love quarterbacks who have that kind of attitude. And I think with a week of being the number one, he's worked with the number ones in camp. So that's not going to be a problem. It's going to be the coaching staff game planning for what his strengths are and getting him ready. And I think Middle Tennessee is going to be a nice kind of welcome to playing with a Big Ten team, welcome back into the starting lineup. And then he's going to be fed to the wood chipper in Alabama next week, but I think we'll be all right.
I like it's interesting with him. I talked about it a little bit. He's a guy that needs to use his legs, but also has to slide and get out of bounds every chance he gets. You know,
Yeah.
you can't you can't take him and say don't run. We need to be healthy because that's a big part of what makes him kind of special. But man, some of those hits he took, I talked about. He's got to slide. He's got to get down because
Yeah.
Hunter Simmons is on deck, bro. And not that that's a solid number 3, but that's a number 3. And you're about to embark on a dangerous journey here. What's one thing you look at with Daniel Neal? You mentioned it, the week of game plan. He's going to be QB1. What's the one thing they're maybe going to add into this offense that we didn't see in the series that Billy Edwards played? Again, short sample size for Billy for sure.
I think you're definitely going to see more in terms of RPOs, more in terms of package plays that are going to give him easier, simpler options. Where Billy Edwards is the type of quarterback who can go through a 4-route pass progression. He's talked about, as you know, that's what he's used to running at Maryland and come in. Danny, being a different body type, being a smaller guy, being a more mobile guy, they want to use his athleticism to our advantage. And by doing so, you have to give him some simple, easy options. So not necessarily just saying one man read and throw it up, but RPOs, zone reads, package plays where he can kind of, instead of looking at the whole field post snap, you split the field in half pre snap, and then you only have to work one half because that half gives you the best options. Stuff like that will help him grow within the system and then also take advantage of what he does best.
Last question here, and I always appreciate the time with Coach's Corner. I'll get him every week I can get him. Not sure Ryan is always good with that, but I will get all the time I can get.
Hey man, I'm here.
I love it. Interesting coaching decision, I would say. Not right or wrong. Third quarter, Badgers are up 3-0. Daniel Neal's in at that point. The offensive line has had some struggles. Put together a drive. They're on the 10-yard line, 4th and 3. They opt to go for it. Obviously, we saw what happened in the end zone. I said before the play, I think you kick the field goal here. It doesn't feel like Middleton or Miami of Ohio is going to drive to a touchdown. I think the best they're going to do is kick a field goal against this defense. Your backup's in. Offensive line's been iffy. It's a 4th and 3. It's not a 4th and 1. But that's just my take on it. I know Rajiv actually disagreed with me. He said he liked the aggressiveness, just didn't like the play call. What are your thoughts there?
I think it's kind of a combination of the two. I think it shows that they had a play they liked, and you saw how the routes are opening up. I think there was a slight, I don't know if it was a miscommunication. Unfortunately, I haven't seen the all 22 of it to really break down, but just the way Danny released the ball, it almost seemed like as he was in the throwing motion, he's like, oh no, he's not where I expected him to be. I think he expected Tresh to be in a different spot. Regardless, I think one, it showed they had a play that they liked in a situation that they liked. Two, they had total confidence in their defense that at worst comes to worst, the play gets stopped. Now, again, it literally was the worst comes to worst where the ball got brought out to the 20 on a touchback. But you run a play there, you give up the ball, and Miami punts, and you're back in good field position. That is probably what they were thinking, that they liked the play they had. They liked the situation that would come out of it. Now, again, Miami didn't really do much with the ball after the turnover, so it ended up not really mattering. It could be as simple as they wanted to test Danny in a situation like that. Live fire, 4th and 3. All right, here you go. Let's go for it. It didn't work. But I guess hindsight is 2020. You could see what they were going for. But as we have learned the last couple of years, sometimes you just want to take the points.
That's a good point you made, though.
And I think it's gonna come down to that later, where the points are points. But I think in this situation, it was worth the risk.
Yeah, I think you made a really good point there. With let's just see, let's put Danny under a little not pressure. That's the wrong word, but let's give him an opportunity here to make a play in a game that we think we do have. It is weird though, right? Because that game felt like the Badgers controlled it. It felt like but at that point it's 3-0. And you and I have both seen enough football games where a stupid bounce the wrong way can suddenly be 6-3, 7-3. So
Yep.
again, I totally get it though. I get what you're saying. He is Coach Anderson, Ryan Anderson, the Dairy Raid. Go check him out on YouTube, Substack. I'll link those in the show notes as well. He is a great follow if you're a Badgers fan wanting to get deeper into the game, learn more about the game. I always learn from having him on the show, so I'm always stoked for it. Coach, want to know, man, what's your score prediction this week before I let you go?
I'll be conservative. We'll say 35-0.
I love
I think they're going to pitch shutout again.
Let's go. On Wisconsin, go follow Coach Anderson, and we will definitely talk tomorrow.